Jesus lived during the time of the Roman Empire's occupation. And in the midst of that time, though he was critical of the power of the rulers of his day, he said, give to Caesar what is Caesar's, and to God what is God's. And in fact, on May 16th, 1920, a 53-year-old George W. Truett, the then pastor of the First Baptist Church of Dallas, Texas, stood on the steps of the Capitol in Washington, D.C. during the Southern Baptist Convention and spoke to 10,000 people. And he reminded them of the unique contribution of religious liberty that Baptists had given the world, and that tolerance is a concession, but religious liberty is a right, and it must be defended. You should hear this snippet of his longer speech as a reminder that our citizenship duty is also a spiritual duty. That utterance of Jesus, he said, render therefore unto Caesar the things that are Caesar, and unto God the things that are God's, is one of the most revolutionary and history-making utterances that ever fell from those lips divine. That utterance, once and for all, marked the divorcement of church and state. It marked a new era for the creeds and deeds of men. It was the sunrise gun of a new day, the echoes of which are to go on and on until in every land, whether great or small, the doctrine shall have absolute supremacy everywhere of a free church in a free state. In behalf of our Baptist people, he said, I am compelled to say that forgetfulness of the principles that I've just enumerated, in our judgment, explains many of the religious ills that now afflict the world. All went well with the early churches in their earlier days. They were incomparably triumphant days for the Christian faith. Those early Christians of Jesus, the disciples of Jesus, without prestige and worldly power, yet aflame with the love of God and the passion of Christ, went out and shook the pagan Roman Empire from center to circumference, even in one brief generation. Christ's religion needs no prop of any kind from any worldly source, and to the degree that it is thus supported, it is a millstone hanged about its neck. Preach, Truett. Now, I must tell you that many Baptists are these days backsliders from these convictions. Truett actually said in that speech, never anywhere in any clime has a true Baptist been willing for 1 minute for the union of church and state. Never for a moment. Yeah, well, he didn't live long enough to see some of them these days. Some of these folks are proving him wrong. It's up to us to prove him right, to keep this spirit alive. Everyday faith must issue forth into good citizenship, and that begins with putting church and state in their proper positions.